You won't believe what happened when I tried to drain my own pool. Yeah, my property. It was a quiet Saturday afternoon, the kind where you just want to take care of a few things around the house, maybe relax a little. I had planned for weeks to finally drain and clean my pool, something I've done many times before. But this time, things took a turn I never expected. Out of nowhere, my neighbor, let's just call her Karen, storms over, arms crossed, eyes locked on me like I just committed a crime. She starts yelling about water waste, flooding, and how I'm destroying the neighborhood. I calmly try to explain that everything is under control and that I've already checked with local guidelines. But she wasn't hearing any of it. A few minutes later, I hear her on the phone. With 911. Yes, she actually called the police on me for draining my own pool. At first, I thought it was just another dramatic overreaction. Karen's known around here for getting involved in things that don't concern her. But something felt off this time. Her panic didn't seem fake. It felt like she was nervous about something. And that's when I started to dig a little deeper. What I uncovered about Karen? Let's just say it completely flipped the situation on its head. Turns out, while she was busy trying to accuse me of something I didn't do, she had a few secrets of her own hiding just beneath the surface. And when I found out what she was really trying to protect, yeah, it changed everything. So why did Karen really call the cops on me? What was she so desperate to keep hidden? You'll want to stick around because trust me, this story only gets crazier from here. So here I am, standing by my half-drained pool, garden hose in hand, trying to process what just happened. Karen had stormed off after making that 911 call, and I honestly didn't know whether to laugh or get angry. I've lived in this neighborhood for years, never had a single problem with anyone, until Karen moved in about 6 months ago. From day one, she acted like she ran the whole block, constantly peeking over fences, filing small complaints with the HOA, even telling the mailman where to park. But calling the cops over pool water? That was a whole new level. I decided to check my security cameras, just to have proof in case anything came up. That's when something strange caught my eye. The footage showed Karen walking around my property the night before. I hadn't noticed it until now because I wasn't even home. She didn't touch anything, but she looked like she was checking something. My hose, the gate, even peeking at the pool equipment. It was weird. I started to wonder, was this all really about the water? Or was she setting something up? The more I thought about it, the more it didn't sit right. That kind of behavior isn't just nosy, it's suspicious. So I started asking around. A few neighbors had their own run-ins with Karen. One said she threatened to call animal control on their dog for barking too loud, midday, on a Saturday. Another told me she once accused their kid of trespassing for cutting across the sidewalk in front of her house. And then someone mentioned something strange. Karen always seemed really nervous when city inspectors were around, even though no one ever saw her doing anything wrong. That got me thinking. Maybe she's hiding something, and the deeper I dug, the more it all started to make sense, but also raised way more questions than answers. At this point, I knew something wasn't right. Karen's reaction to me draining my own pool wasn't just an overreaction, it felt like a distraction. But a distraction from what? I couldn't stop thinking about the footage of her snooping around my property the night before. Why would someone who's supposedly so concerned about water waste be sneaking into a neighbor's yard? That's when I realized this wasn't just about me or the pool. It might be about something a lot bigger. I started keeping an eye on things more closely. Every morning I noticed Karen would leave her house at the same time, carrying a small cooler. She'd return a few hours later, always looking around like she was checking to see if anyone was watching. One day, I followed from a distance, just out of curiosity. She didn't go far, just a few streets down, to a property that looked empty. No cars, no signs of life. But she went inside and didn't come out for over an hour. Something was definitely going on. Meanwhile, the drama around the pool wasn't dying down either. A city worker showed up 2 days later saying they received an anonymous report about unauthorized drainage. I showed him the permits and guidelines, and he said everything looked fine. But here's the strange part. He let slip that it wasn't the first complaint from this address. Apparently, Karen's been reporting different neighbors for violations for months, including things like unpermitted fences, uncut grass, and noise from power tools. Almost all of them turned out to be false. I started talking to more people on the block. One neighbor told me Karen used to work for the city, but was let go under weird circumstances. Nobody knew why exactly, but the way she acted like she still had some kind of authority started to make sense. The pieces were starting to fit together, but one thing was still unclear. Why go through all this effort to target me now? What was she really afraid I'd find in that pool? At this point, things started feeling less like a neighborhood dispute and more like something out of a mystery movie. Every little thing Karen did started to feel calculated, like she wasn't just reacting, she was planning. And the weirdest part? The more I tried to ignore it, the more signs popped up that something much deeper was going on. I still couldn't shake the feeling that me draining my pool wasn't the problem. It was the trigger. Something about that pool made her panic. A few days later, I went out to finish the job. The water was almost completely drained, just a shallow layer left. As I moved some leaves and debris from the bottom, I noticed something odd sticking out near the drain. A small, dark plastic pouch, kind of wedged in a crack. At first, I thought it was trash. But when I pulled it out, it felt heavier than it should have. I didn't open it right away. I just stood there, frozen, because all I could think about was Karen's face when she saw me working near that exact spot. It wasn't annoyance. It was fear. I took the pouch inside, set it on the counter, and stared at it. That's when my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. All it said was, "Stop digging." No name, no number to call back. Just those 2 words. And that's when I realized I wasn't imagining things. Someone was watching me. Someone didn't want me to see what was in that pouch. Later that night, I heard something outside. I looked through the blinds and saw Karen, standing at the edge of my driveway, just staring at the house. Not saying a word, not moving. She stood there for nearly 10 minutes before walking off into the dark. And the worst part? I hadn't even opened the pouch yet. Whatever was inside was about to change everything. The next morning, I finally worked up the nerve to open the pouch. I sat at the kitchen table, heart pounding, hands slightly shaking. I didn't know what to expect. Drugs, stolen stuff, maybe something worse. But what I found was even more confusing. Inside were several small sealed envelopes and a flash drive. The envelopes had names written on them, including mine. There were others too, people from the neighborhood. One name jumped out immediately. Mr. Halpern, the quiet elderly man who lived 2 houses down. He passed away just last month and nobody really questioned it. But seeing his name there? It sent chills down my spine. I didn't open any of the envelopes yet. I plugged in the flash drive first. It was password protected. Of course. But inside the pouch, I noticed a tiny folded note. All it said was, "If anything happens to me, they'll know." No signature, no context, but something about it made my stomach drop. This wasn't just Karen being nosy or difficult. This was bigger. This was something she was clearly trying to cover up, desperately. And then another twist. Later that day, a new neighbor, Amy, who had just moved in across the street a few weeks ago, came by with a completely unrelated question about garbage pickup. Casual stuff. But right before she left, she leaned in and whispered, "Be careful with Karen. You're not the first person she's tried to scare off." That stopped me cold. I asked her what she meant, but she just smiled awkwardly and said, "Let's talk another time. Not here." Now, I had a flash drive I couldn't open, envelopes with my name on them, a neighbor clearly hiding something, and a new neighbor who seemed to know way more than she let on. And that text, "Stop digging," kept replaying in my head. It was no longer just about draining a pool. I was knee-deep in something I didn't understand yet, and whatever it was, Karen wasn't the only one watching. After a few sleepless nights, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know what was on that flash drive. I asked a friend of mine who works in IT if he could help bypass the password. It took him a few hours, but he finally cracked it. And what? We found... I still get goosebumps thinking about it. The drive was full of documents, photos, and voice recordings. It turns out Karen had been secretly collecting information on multiple people in the neighborhood. Not just gossip, real, personal stuff. Property disputes, financial records, even audio clips of private conversations she must have recorded without anyone knowing. It was like she'd been building a case against almost everyone on the street. But why? That's when I opened the envelope with my name on it. Inside was a copy of an old zoning complaint I filed years ago, one I completely forgot about. But tucked in the back was a copy of an anonymous letter addressed to the city, with handwriting that looked almost exactly like Karen's. The letter accused her of running an unlicensed rental operation out of the abandoned house I saw her entering before. That house wasn't empty. It was being used as a hidden short-term rental. Illegal under our HOA rules. Karen must have found out someone reported her, and when she saw me draining the pool, right near where that pouch had somehow ended up, she probably panicked. She thought I was the one who turned her in. That's why she called the cops, why she tried to scare me off, why she kept lurking around. She was covering her tracks, thinking I had found her stash of secrets. I decided to turn the drive and everything else into the city. I expected some pushback, but instead, the very next morning, Karen's house was quiet. By afternoon, a moving truck showed up. No goodbye, no explanations, she was just gone. But here's the twist. A week later, I got another envelope. No return address. Inside was a photo of me, standing by the pool, taken from a distance, with one note: some things should stay buried. After that final envelope arrived, I couldn't help but look over my shoulder for a few days. Whoever sent it had been watching me, and they clearly didn't want the truth getting out. But at the same time, I felt like I'd done the right thing. I handed over everything to the city anonymously, made sure the flash drive and documents were in the right hands, and quietly stepped back from the chaos. Karen had disappeared almost overnight, and nobody's seen her since. The abandoned house she kept sneaking into was eventually boarded up and later sold, supposedly under city supervision. Whatever she was involved in, it was over, at least for now. Neighbors slowly started opening up again. A few of them thanked me, not just for speaking up, but for exposing what so many of us had ignored for months. Karen had used fear and control to keep people quiet. Once that was gone, the whole neighborhood felt lighter. People started chatting more, looking out for one another, even helping each other with home projects, like I originally planned when I started draining my pool. The strange thing is, I never did find out how that pouch ended up near the drain. Maybe she dropped it by accident, maybe someone else put it there, hoping I'd find it. Either way, it changed everything. What started as a simple pool cleaning turned into a mystery that exposed secrets no one saw coming. So if there's one thing I've learned through all this, it's that sometimes the smallest things, like draining your own pool, can uncover the biggest truths. Keep your eyes open, trust your gut, and never underestimate the quiet people next door. Because you never really know what's going on, just beneath the surface.